are back with a new interview, and we're going to be interviewing Shane today. And Shane is one of our industry board members. He does some video production, and we all would love to hear about what you do and a little bit about you. So if you wanted to just give us a little introduction to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Shane Trowbridge, and I've been working in video and television and multimedia for a little over 20 years now, which is kind of weird to say out loud. Um, I went to Ball State from 96, that's 1996, for those of you who might be confused by that. I went to Ball State from 96 to 2000, and my area of study was telecommunications, video production, and spent about 9 years in Los Angeles doing production work. Um, Took on less of a technical role in those years and more of a producer role. Worked in television, did some nonprofit ministry related work for a few years, and then came back to Indiana, where I'm from, in 2000, at the end of 2008. So just, gosh, 11, 12 years ago now. And had to figure out how to make the Los Angeles resume translate to the Midwest, which took a little while. Um, but I've been spending, my years here in the Midwest, shooting, editing, producing, all the above. Um, I work now for a company called Grub Media, and basically we are a kind of one-stop shop for video production, video marketing. Well, we've got three kind of areas of focus: our video suite, which is everything video, and I'm in charge of all that. And then we've got our marketing suite, which is all things digital marketing. And then we have found a niche with clients who need those services, but also for some of our, well, actually, I was going to say larger companies, but larger and smaller companies that need promotional support as well. So promotional items being branded T-shirts and hats and um, apparel and you name it. And there was a specific specific reason that we kind of launched into that third area, the promotional area. And now we can kind of get into that a little bit as the discussion goes on, but there's not a lot of media companies out there that also offer uh, promotional items. And so we've kind of found a nice little niche for ourselves with that. Um, and so, yeah, I spend most of my time editing for the most part. I do some of our shooting for projects. We've built a nice little crew for ourselves. So a lot of times I'll just farm out the production and handle the post myself. Trying to get a little bit better about farming some of that out because the post can be pretty time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the Grub media side of what I do. Do you want me to go ahead and share my screen, Jay?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Should I do that?
Yeah, yeah. Go right ahead.
Is there something I should be seeing right now? I'm just looking at a blank screen on Zoom. I
Um,
don't need to. I don't need to see anything. I just wasn't sure if I was
yeah,
supposed
no,
to see something or not.
yeah, I don't have my webcam yet. I just got a new computer, so I haven't got my webcam set up yet. So.
Okay, no worries. All right, so I'm going to share my desktop here. I will go to Grub Media. Grub Media is, if it's not obvious, is owned by my boss, Adam Grubb, who's got about as many years experience in media as I do. He was at Ball State for a hot second and decided, why am I paying money to learn something that I can just go out and figure out myself? And so he has a bit more of an entrepreneurial spirit, kind of a sales mentality. So he just kind of skipped college and went right to it. So I didn't know him while we were there. We just kind of got paired up in the last couple of years. But anyways, if you can see our website, we actually
Mhm.
just kind of relaunched here,
Yeah, it looks really
relaunched
good just
this.
from the landing page here.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's funny because before COVID, we were Adam Grub Productions,
Mhm.
and the digital marketing side of what we do and the promotional side, we had those services, but we weren't really marketing those very well. Um, and during COVID, where a lot of people were struggling to kind of keep the doors open,
Mhm.
we decided to take that time to kind of rebrand ourselves. So we're Adam Grubb Media now, video marketing promo, and our website does a bit better job of kind of highlighting uh, the areas of expertise
Yeah, I
that we
love
bring to
the.
the table. So we oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Were you gonna
I
ask
was
me
just say I
something?
love the colors. I love putting blue on websites. It's like one of my favorite color for
Nice.
websites. So I love the blue.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, this is our AGM blue. I forget what the hex number is off the top of my head, but you'll see this pretty much everywhere. We have a second shade of darker blue, but it's not the primary color. Um, so Adam Grubb Media is kind of our, if you want to, if you want to use a mullet as a as an analogy for our company, the Adam Grubb side of our company is the business up front.
Mhm.
I'll get to the party in the back here momentarily.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so we work a lot with companies, municipalities, and we really pride ourselves on um, doing video production in a way that's not cookie cutter. It's not overcomplicated. We really strive to be good storytellers, but we also really strive to partner with our clients. A lot of production companies are really great storytellers, but they're not super strategic. So they'll get paid a nice lump of cash to do a really sexy video, but then they kind of just hand it off to the client, and it's kind of up to the client to do with it what they will. So a good handful of our clients are clients that we're on retainer with. So we will do a series of videos throughout the year that might be paired up with some kind of social media campaign or some kind of direct marketing that they're trying to do to their client base. And because of Adam's background in sales, he's got a real finger on the pulse of how all that works. It's not necessarily my area of expertise. I'm more of the video guy. Um, so we try to really partner with our clients and come alongside them and understand their business and their goals and try to form the videos around their company goals. So our videos look a lot different, depending on what it is the client's trying to accomplish. We do brand films, we do live streaming. We even do some videos where we don't shoot anything. We just rely on motion graphics or stock video. There's an awful lot of really good stock stuff out there now that, if we're in a situation where we can't travel to go shoot something, we'll just use stock media.
Mhm.
I've gotten way too good at using stock media. It's kind of fun to dig through the catalog sometimes and try to find just the right shot, but we're usually able to pull that off. So that's the kind of corporate side of what we do. Um, that it's fun. We have a lot of really great clients that we work with. The kind of party in the back mullet side of what we do, which is the fun, exciting, creative, kind of just no rules side of Adam Grubb Media, is this new brand that we just launched about a year ago called Stick and Hack. I'm going to flip over there right now to that website. So this is a Stick and Hack is a up and coming golf entertainment brand that was kind of born out of this crazy idea between Adam, who owns AGM, and one of his golf buddies, Mike Ryan. Then the story kind of is told that they were sitting around at the clubhouse. They're both avid golfers. That's them right there. They kind of just went by really quick on the screen, but uh, that's how they met each other at the course. Mike is a super talented uh, golfer. Has won a lot of awards in golf world. That's referred to as a stick. Adam is the hack. Um, Decent at golf, doesn't take it too seriously. So they came up with this idea: what if we did a podcast and we called it Stick and Hack, and we just sit around and talk about golf? And Adam, being the entrepreneur that he is, was more than just a drunken good idea. He went out and started this brand.
Mhm.
And so what started as basically just a biweekly podcast has now become a full-on multimedia platform. It's a free membership-based online club, basically, for people who love golf. There's a lot of different golf entertainment brands out there. Um, we kind of like to categorize a lot of the brands out there now are kind of I don't know, sophomoric, a lot of crashing golf carts and drunken guys falling over on the course and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We try to be and there's a place for that. Certainly there's barstool sports and whatnot.
Mhm.
Obviously we've got huge audiences, but we our niche is more in the like 30 to 60 age range, and it's a little more of the kind of classy side of golf. And maybe classy is not the right term to use. We don't. A lot of our content is not like, hey, here's what's happening in the PGA this week. Most of our content is feel good stories. You know, it's funny because personally, I'm not like I'm starting to take an interest in golf because I'm
Mhm.
involved in this brand, but I don't have a background in golf, so I've kind of gotten the crash course into the golf lifestyle. And for a lot of people to play golf, it's kind of a family tradition. It's a generational thing, and so we're really catering to people that love the game. They love the family, friend, kind of relational side of it. They love the stories that kind of come out of golf. And so we're trying to latch on to that. And so a lot of our content and things of that nature, we do a lot of written stories, tend to be a little more creative and, uh, like I said, less golf carts crashing. So we launched this thing about a year ago, and the whole idea was let's build this online community of people, and in just about a year we're pushing almost 2,000 members already,
Wow.
which is cool. It's really it's been really cool to watch this thing grow. I mean, it's free, so we do have a paid. We launched a paid version, and that's actually growing as well. But we've got people from all over the country, quite a few people from outside of the country, and it's been really neat to see this thing start to take shape. We do the Stick and Hack show every 2 weeks, and that's done as a video. I mean, it's an audio podcast, but it's also done as a multi-camera show as well,
Mhm.
which I produce and shoot and edit. Was actually going to maybe do a little editing as a demonstration on that here in a little bit.
Oh yeah, for
We
sure.
shot. I don't know who all's listening, but we actually this week's episode that just came out on Tuesday, we actually had Jim Davis as a guest. He's the creator of Garfield,
That's
and
awesome.
lives in Indiana, and he's actually an avid golfer. And I didn't know this till the day we shot it, but he's actually a Stick and Hack member. So really nice guy. So yeah, he was on the show. We shoot 2 weeks in advance, so we shot that 2 weeks ago. But that premiered on Tuesday. So if anybody's interested in becoming a member, it's free. Just go to Stick and Hack, and it's cool, man. You don't even. I don't even like love golf necessarily, but I love the creative content that's coming out of it.
Mhm.
Lots of really cool humor-based video, and if you like written stories, we're doing all kinds of different. Everything has a very kind of tongue-in-cheek humor to it.
Mhm.
Uh, edgy, but not inappropriate or anything like that. We try to be family
Hmm.
friendly, but so it's a cool thing. It's we're local here out of Indianapolis, so it's it's a neat brand to be involved in. But if you're interested and want to check out the podcast, it's pretty much on any podcast platform. Not easy to say. It's on stickandhack.com, and then you can find it on YouTube as well. But the Jim Davis episode was pretty cool.
Hmm.
But we just shot an episode yesterday that I need to get turned around and edited, so I haven't had a chance to mess with it yet. I was thinking I might tinker with that a little bit here to just kind of show you guys how that show comes together. So yeah, I feel like I essentially work for two companies because Stick and Hack has grown so quickly, and the amount of content that we're putting out requires near full-time attention. So I'm on a daily basis trying to juggle my time between Grub Media and Stick and Hack. They're two separate entities, but they're also kind of one entity because it's for the most part it's the same team of people doing both. So um, that is my long-winded attempt at not being long-winded, just to kind of explain the companies that I'm involved with. Um,
That was awesome.
Jay,
That's great.
cool. How can how do you want to do this? Do you have any questions
Yeah.
coming
So
in? Do you want me to?
there's one question. Miranda was asking, did you build these websites or?
I did not personally build these websites, um, which is really funny that you ask that. It has been, and this might seem kind of a strange comment for your department and definitely the younger generation, because I do feel like, and you guys can tell me if maybe my interpretation is wrong, but I do feel like the ability to create a website is kind of like almost expected, or at least basic coding and basic design. I've been aware of that, and honestly, for like the last 2 years, it's like that's the next thing I'm gonna learn is just to freaking learn how to build a WordPress site, because I need to be able to have that on my
Mhm.
resume. I feel like, and my workload just never quite allows me to set the time aside. So I did not build this. It's not a terribly complicated website. I think it's WordPress. Um, I guess it's not on here. Adam actually built this.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Adam, the owner. Yeah, he's kind of a jack of all trades. He's the guy who, if he wants something done, he a lot of times just wants to do it himself, and so he'll stay up till 4 in the morning figuring out how to do it.
I get that.
I guess maybe I'm not that motivated. I will just go pay somebody to do it for me.
Mhm.
so, um, so yeah, he built this, and I believe he built the original Adam Grub site, Adam Grub Media. We have a Sierra who heads up our marketing suite. She's got some design experience, so I think she kind of took the reins on the new AGM site.
Mhm.
She might have gotten a bit involved with Stick and Hack, but I think most of this content on here um, is Adam's doing. So,
Are you
but I mean, he had to.
are you like recording any content for these websites, or is your stuff separate from these websites, or do you like is your content on these websites like some of the editing and stuff you do?
Yeah. It's funny. I don't spend enough time on our website. Probably need to. Let's see. Where are the videos?
And then you
Um,
do have one more question.
yeah.
It's how long have you worked inside of video production? Is your degree in that area as well? And Miranda agrees with
Yeah.
you that building websites is a crucial thing we all need to learn.
Right. Great. Let me just add it to my list of things to do. Thanks, Miranda. Just kidding. I'm joking. Um, Let's see. The question was, what was the question?
It
How long
was
have I been
how
doing
yeah
video production?
how many years inside of video production, and is your degree in that area as well? That's actually a great question because as someone just graduating college, I am so afraid I'm not going to get a degree in animation or whatever I studied. So that's definitely a good thing to cover, I think.
Yeah, so yes, my degree was in, and it's Ball State's video television degree is called telecommunications. It's been that as long as I've known what it was called, and it's still called that. And I hate that name. I've never been a big fan of that name. To me, telecommunications sounds like I'm like the Verizon guy who shows up to set up your internet or something. But yeah, I did go to school 4 years for video production specifically, and things. And that was 20 years ago. I mean, that was the year 2000. So I've been out of school now for 20 years, and except for one short year and a half sidestep that I took a couple years back. That was still in the technology space, but yeah, I mean, all of it's been video and television, and I consider myself very, very blessed. It is not it is not an easy industry to just step into and flourish. Um,
For sure.
you know, I was on vacation recently and was talking to a friend about a friend that I have in California who's, he's like a 20 plus year actor. And we were just talking about how like unforgiving kind of the Hollywood actor lifestyle can be, because you're constantly having to like reprove yourself. And this one particular friend like finally landed the perfect gig. His area of expertise is like voice work. So he became the voice of Superman on one of the animated. Um, I don't even know what it
That's
was.
cool. That's cool. That was.
One of the animated cartoon series on. I don't even know what network it's on, but and so he finally felt like he had it made, and then that series came to an end, and and the well dried up, and here he's right back to kind of being a starving artist. I'm not trying to be all Debbie Downer. It's not that bad,
Mm-hmm.
but there is an element of like, even 20 years later, I still feel like there's a bit of a hustle. Like, you don't just settle into a skill set and ride your laurels for the rest of your career. I mean, the technology that was cutting edge to me when I graduated 20 years ago is technology that has been retired for years at this point. And so things are always changing, and the technology in general now has become so dumbed down that it kind of levels the playing field in a lot of ways. I can't say that I've seen the fact that, like, my 9-year-old son can build his own website, a Wix, or, you know, any average Joe can go out and buy a DSLR and learn to shoot video. I've not personally seen where that has hurt the industry or has hurt professionals. If
Mm-hmm.
anything, I feel like maybe it has made video less expensive, and therefore more clients are willing to spend money on it. I mean, it was not that uncommon back in the day, 20 years ago, for a commercial to cost 60, 70, $80,000 for
Whoa.
just like a really basic commercial. Now there are still things that cost that much and way more, but I mean, you can do a lot more these days than you used to be able to do for a lot cheaper. And I think there are some older generation folks that are fearful of that, and they feel like all the work's been taken away, and yada yada yada. But I don't. I've not personally experienced that. I feel like it's just kind of created a much bigger pool to swim in.
Hmm.
So yeah, I've seen things change quite a bit in 20 years, but have really been lucky and blessed to kind of make adjustments where adjustments needed to be made and just try to stay relevant. Um, if I could give like one piece of advice, it would be just know that 99% of the people out there, whether it's somebody who's hiring or it's a client looking for a contractor to do work. Now, obviously, they want somebody with a good skill set, but I'm not kidding. The majority of the time, they would rather work with somebody who is a pleasure to work with and is trustworthy and can communicate well. Um, you know, maybe they're not at top shelf level as far as their technical skills, but they're good enough and they can still
Hmm.
deliver something good. I would much rather work with somebody like that than somebody who can make this unbelievable animated sequence that just blows you out of the water, but they're a total dick. Um,
Yeah.
I've seen so many people just shoot themselves in the foot, like super talented, unfortunately, like super ego, and they just struggle because uh, nobody wants to work with them. Um, I think that's why maybe I've done okay for myself is that I really I've always tried to lead with the relationship first,
Hmm.
and just make the work environment fun and not stressful and build trust really quickly, and that goes a long way when it comes to just kind of building relationships with clients and whatnot. So
I mean, I always tell people what we do is fun in nature. You know, like I mean, I love what I do. Like I love to be able to sit down and make animations, and I imagine you love to sit down and edit videos and stuff like that. And it's something you're truly passionate about. And I think that even you could be the best in the world, and if you're a jerk, no one's gonna want to be around you. So I think that
right,
part of being like successful in our field is being, like just enjoying yourself and really like showing it and expressing that to other people, because I think some people are really good with what we do, but not necessarily like they love what they do. Do you know what I mean? Like someone could be amazing in animation but wouldn't
yeah,
do illustration or something. You know what I mean? So I
right,
think that's a really good point to bring up.
right. Yeah, and I mean, I guess kind of the flip side of that coin is, you will end up working with somebody who's just a total jerk, who's higher up the food chain than you, and they're a wet blanket to the team and to the project, and you wonder how they got in that position of leadership. Oftentimes, you'll never get an answer to that question, but I would encourage people just to be the peacemaker and just do what you're there to do and try to leave the project better off because you were part of it. And I'm telling you, man, like that I don't believe in karma necessarily, but definitely you put off good vibes and people will remember you for that and say, hey, we should bring Jay on for the next project. He was really great to work with last time. I
That's
couldn't
the
tell you how many of those conversations I've been in through the years. So it definitely it pays off to be pleasant.
that's awesome to hear. And we do have another question from Miranda. She's curious. Would you say you have met your career goals?
Um, well, I feel like that would be a little what's the word I'm looking for? Not egotistical. Might be a little conceited to say yes, absolutely. 'Cause, I mean, realistically, I'm only halfway through my career,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, I what I can say is I love working for Adam Grub Media. I love stick and hack, and even though I'm not an avid golfer, I really like what this brand is about. And it, and really it comes back to uh, the people that,
Mm-hmm.
that are building this brand, like my teammates. that I work with daily are just good people. I mean, we could push stick and hack off to the side and start something new, and I probably would feel the same way because at the foundation of it, we've got a really good team of people. Um, and based on everything that I just said, like I've been through lots of situations where that hasn't been the case with other jobs, employers, and so um, like yes, that is super. Like I took my wife and kids on vacation last week, and as refreshing as it was, like I was excited to get back to work. And not everybody can say that. So that's I would say that is fulfilling, and I've fulfilled that. But you know, video production and um, motion design and all these things. I mean, my gosh, for as much as they've changed in the last 10 to 15 years, what are things going to look like in 10 to 15 years from now? So, um, I need to continue to push myself to learn and to learn how to build websites.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like for every like one or two new things you learn, there's like four or five new things that come along that you just got to try to kind of stay on top of those things and stay marketable. um, my challenge has always been, as much as I love the line of work I'm in,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't live, breathe, eat, and sleep it. Like when I'm done, I'm no stranger to working long hours, but I'm not the guy that you're going to find reading video blogs at 2 in the morning. Um, I have other things that I like to do, and I don't know, have other people advanced quicker in their career than me because of that? Maybe, but you know what? I'm happy. I didn't know how I was going to make working in the Midwest work when I moved back from California.
Mm-hmm.
If I would have known that just 10 years later, I'm essentially work from home. So there's no 9 to 5. There's no, I mean, I don't even have pants on right now. So I'll just tell you that. I'm just joking. Um, it comes with an incredible amount of flexibility and creativity. And so, I'm kind of digressing, I
I
guess,
don't know. I
but
actually,
I would have never guessed that this is how things would have played out for me. So
mm-hmm. I
yeah,
did have a good question, like that just popped in my head. When you were talking about working in a situation that you don't really enjoy, how did you personally handle like that as an artist? Like I feel like I know that sometimes if you're like I've been in groups, worked in groups before that not everyone was doing their fair part, or like I didn't like the idea we were doing or something like that. So like how do you personally handle like the difference between how someone else wants something, how you want something, and how do you make like that
yeah,
work environment work for you?
I know that is a great question, and I do really feel like if you can figure out how to maneuver through those things, whatever line of work you're in, you are going to excel um, above most other people. One thing I would like to encourage people is, and there's a lot of different free um, tools out there. Um, do the personality profiles that are out there. Strengths Finder. Do those. There's something called an Enneagram. I think it's ENNEAGRAM. I don't know if they do any of that stuff in college. Does any of that, like,
I
am
actually
I
think I took one
talking
of those.
Spanish when
No, like
I
when I
okay.
was studying abroad, I actually think one of the nights we all sat down around a table and we were all using the amazing Wi-Fi in Poland to take the personality test. So I think I actually do know what you're talking about, and it's funny because no one at the table had the same personality, so I think that's an interesting thing to comment on too.
Well, the thing is like, how can you understand somebody else and how to deal with conflict when you don't necessarily understand yourself? And so I know some people think the personality profiles and stuff are just fluffy, but man, I am telling you, like, I have learned a lot about myself through the years by taking some of those.
Hmm.
they're just like online. It's like an online thing, and some of them take a little while to fill out, like a half hour or something. But the result you'll get back, kind of telling you like, oh, you're this type of personality, and um, like in the Enneagram, or is it, no, Strengths Finders, like I'm a very high empathetic person. So I've learned to embrace that. Like I've learned to understand, like where Adam's a little more kind of gruff and in your face. It might be a little bit quicker to like dismiss something one of our clients is saying, or not dismiss it, but just kind of like, ah. Like I tend to really try to. Well, actually, I don't have to try because it comes naturally. Like I just tried to embrace the fact that, well, I'm naturally empathetic. How can I try to have this, be strength to the team relationship, but also like, client relationship.
Mhm.
So I tend to be my results tend to be, I don't like conflict. I'm empathetic, and so I'm a little more naturally drawn to trying to resolve. I don't like conflict. I don't necessarily avoid it. I don't like that there is conflict, so I try to work towards resolving it. I
Mhm.
should clarify that. So, um, and like I said, not everybody is in touch with how they communicate. People just get emotional and they flip out and they, you know what I mean? And
Oh
like
yeah.
if you can whatever your strengths are, if you can like be a source of strength in a situation, whatever your strengths are, like you're going to be cream that rises. Because I'm telling you, most people, it doesn't matter what age they are. I've seen it all. um, Most people are not in touch with their own communication styles.
Mhm.
um, so, and I have found that a lot of conflict just kind of naturally gets resolved if you can learn how to maneuver through that stuff. I
Mhm.
think there was maybe like a extra layer to your question.
Oh, I was just like for me, I'm a very like extroverted, and I like anyone that knows me will tell you like I love talking to people, and like when Miranda asked me to help her out with this, I was really excited because I love meeting new people and like expanding the wealth of knowledge people give me and stuff like that. So I really
Right.
enjoy that kind of stuff, and people have told me I have a growth mindset, so like I've heard that a couple times. So but I do notice that like sometimes if I meet someone that's passive aggressive or something, and like I'm working with them, if they don't like what I'm saying, they won't tell me. They'll be like, oh, blah blah, blah, like they'll say a snarky comment or something, and I don't like. I was just curious on how you handle that like kind of situation in like a working environment, because you have to work day in and day out with these people, and having good synergy is a huge part of being on a well functioning team.
Right. Well, so there's all those kind of like internal things that I just said, but I think one of the things to just be conscious of, and I've never had this problem, so okay, let me actually set this up a little bit
Mm-hmm.
better. Um, you have to be able to like separate yourself from your work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Stick and Hack is a great example of. I mean, I report to Adam, but he and I like we are like eye to eye on creative stuff. So like, I'm literally turned loose creatively. I mean, Adam will sometimes give me some feedback on things he would like to change in video cuts and whatnot, but they're usually like really minor things. So like, I've got pretty much total creative freedom um, with Stick and Act, which is great. Kind of rare, I guess. I don't know, but I have I have never been my mindset has always been, um, I'm blessed to be in this line of work.
Mm-hmm.
It could be, I don't know, could be working on an assembly line somewhere. Not that there's anything wrong with that,
Yeah.
you know. Um, I'm getting paid to do this. So never forget that, we get to do things that we love and we get paid to do it. I mean, for 20 years, I've got to basically play and I feed my family and have a roof over my head. So I try to keep that in perspective.
Mhm.
Um, and there's always somebody that I report to, whether it's my boss or the client. Um, Within reason, I yield creative control. I do not get upset when the client's like, "Oh yeah, we really liked your idea, but we really, at the end of the day, we want to do this, and this
Uh,
is it's okay, but it's mediocre." Now, if it's something that's just like we're not going to take your money to do this. I mean, that sometimes happens.
mhm.
Um, but I rarely do I lose sleep over something that I was super, super excited about, and I have to kind of yield creative control over it. It's to me, it's just I don't know. I guess maybe I just don't take this line of work that serious that I'm not, painting some beautiful piece of art. Actually, you know what? Yes, I am. Dang it, I am painting a beautiful piece of art. But what I'm getting at is like I think a lot of times if you just keep the mentality that hey, my boss is right, the client's right, like within reason, meet middle of the road, you can avoid a lot of conflict that way.
Mhm.
Like I said, it I'm telling you, it is inevitable. You are going to work with many people in your career that are difficult, people that aren't able to let go of creative control, people that want to stand over your shoulder and micromanage you. They don't
Mhm.
trust themselves, therefore they don't trust anybody on their team. Um, you know, you just have to. Sometimes it's worth picking a fight. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Stand up for yourself. You don't have to. By no means am I saying in any of this that you need to just let people walk all over you. By no means am I saying that. Um, I actually let that happen in one of my very, very first jobs outside of college. It was in Los Angeles, and that ended up with. I mean, in hindsight, it was like she was bullying the crap out of me, and it. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say this. It ended up with me in HR, like with tears in my eyes. She was so degrading to me for so long, and I kept internalizing it and kept internalizing it and not saying anything, and I finally just lost it. So that's a whole other conversation. Obviously, if that type of stuff's happening, don't be afraid to stick up for yourself. But
Mhm.
you just kind of have to what I mean? So it's a lot of times it's just common sense. Like, is this worth starting an argument over? So for the sake of just me maintaining, because I want to use this font instead of that font. You
Font
gotta kind of, yeah.
font fighting, my favorite. I love a good papyrus or Comic Sans, my
Oh
favorites.
geez. Oh geez. Oh geez.
And then Miranda was asking. This is a kind of a separate question, but since you have Final Cut Pro open here, she was asking what's your favorite program to edit video with.
Yeah. So I'm hesitating in answering just because there's so much backstory to that question. Um,
Oh, we want to hear it. We would love
the
to hear it.
simple answer is I love Final Cut Pro. That's literally what
Okay.
I've used for 10 years. That's the simple answer. Final Cut kind of just fell in my lap. I didn't, that was 10 years I lived in California, never edited anything. When I moved back here, you were expected to be able to kind of produce, shoot, and edit. And so um, at the time, it was basically Avid and Final Cut.
Mhm.
I don't even know if Premiere was even out yet. I don't remember if that was even part of the Adobe suite at that point. This would have been 2008. It might have been. I don't know. But back then, like the two big kind of power players were um, Avid and Final Cut, and I had a Mac and just was Final Cut 7 was like the easiest one to get access to. And so I started learning that, and that interface is very much like Premiere.
Mhm.
So there wasn't the like hate between Final Cut and Premiere that there has been for the last 10 years. And so anyways, I was editing for about a year before Apple came out with Final Cut X or 10, which completely changed the landscape of video editing. And when that happened, there was like this immediate the earth cracked and there's this huge divide of all the purists were like, it's like iMovie and it's super simple, and if it's not complicated, it must not be professional. And so there was just like this and like all these people falling into the chasm. And I just happened to be on the Final Cut side, and I was newer to editing, so I didn't have any like super strong opinions about it. So I just was like, oh, I guess I'm going to be a Final Cut editor. I will say for the type of editing I do, which is what I like to call single seat editing, which is just me and my machine. I'm not networked to other machines that other editors are pulling media off of, which honestly, that argument that's not even really a valid point anymore, because Final Cut can now network with other machines and stuff too. It couldn't at first. Um, but Final Cut is freaking lightning fast. I mean, it is. If you're doing like multi-camera editing, it is unbelievably fast, and it renders video while you're editing. Premiere might do that now. I don't know. But Final Cut does an awful lot in the background. So I can like have 5 or 6 videos exporting and I can still work on something else, where like Premiere, I'm pretty sure, like unless you send it over to
Encoder.
not compressor. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I've got a guy I'm working with right now, he's on Premiere and he's on a pretty decent machine, and like the time that it's taking him to export videos is like, and I keep telling him he needs to have another Premiere editor look to make sure he's not doing something wrong, because it's like it's taking what I can export in like 5 minutes is taking him like hours to
Ooh.
export stuff, and I'm like,
Oh yeah. You
something doesn't
check your
seem right there.
computer.
Yeah, I don't know. He's kind of a beginner level editor, so I suspect there may be some things there, but it's the whole argument of it being iMovie Pro is just, it's not true. I mean, the interface and the little squares and boxes and stuff kind of look like it, but it's
Mm.
it's really not. I mean, it's a really fast platform. Um, it doesn't integrate with After Effects as easily as Premiere does, and
Mhm.
so that's usually the biggest pushback is, well, it won't work with After Effects. Well, it's actually not true. There's like 1 or 2 really easy free plugins you can get to where you're just like a click or two away from it moving right over to After Effects. So, um, but just kind of like with the website thing, like I feel like Premiere does hold a little more respect on a resume than Final Cut does. Unfortunately, just because of the rap that Final Cut has. If anybody tinkers with Final Cut, within an hour they understand why it's so freaking awesome. But just in general, it just seems to get kind of a bad rap. But it works really well for my workflow. I try to get into Premiere occasionally just to like not forget how it works. But I end up spending like twice as much time on a project. I usually just don't have that kind of free time.
Mhm.
Um, and another thing, like again, the purists, I think, and I don't know, I'm curious what you think about this, being a motion graphics person. Like for me, it's I need to put out high quality content
Mhm.
quickly. Um, I don't have time to do lots of complex motion graphics. And now there are certain projects that need custom, complex
Mm-hmm.
motion graphics, but a lot of times I just need a cool lower third to fly in, or I need some cool text to fly in, or I need a logo to do something kind of funky. Um,
Oh yeah.
it used to be that it used to be you had the only option you had was to pull that into After Effects and do something. Now you can get like a $50, you know,
Like
plug-in.
setback. Yeah, you can get like some stuff.
Yeah, set pack, and I know that there's some people that are like, well, that's just cheating, um,
I
and
mean,
and some of those look really sexy and cool. Some of them, you kind of get what you pay for. But for a lot of the content I'm putting out, like it's good enough. But I want to be clear, me saying that, like I I haven't seen anything to indicate people that do motion graphics for a living that they're in that like that there's not work there now suddenly because of templated stuff.
mm-hmm.
I
I
haven't seen where that hurts anything.
I think a really good thing to bring up when it comes to like the like sets and the packs and the textures. I love using particles and like lightning and stuff like that. And there's a lot of that stuff already out there. So I like when I'm making something, I think about like I sometimes I even look at some of those packages, and I break them down. I think about how they made them, and as a someone learning like because I've recently got into motion graphics this past year, and it's something I fell in
Okay.
love with, and I never thought I would. I always thought that I was gonna be like Adobe Animate or like some other kind of Toon Boom or something, like 2D animation drawn out each frame or something like that, and
Right.
I think that like seeing these packs and stuff like that. I mean, I think that if you are like a struggling motion graphics artist or something like that, I think that's a good thing to like maybe go down that route. But I also think that creating original motion graphics and stuff like that is a whole new area that like definitely needs to be explored. And I think that um, these packages and stuff like that open other people's eyes to like this huge world of new animation that's coming into play. So that's kind of
Right.
like how I think about it. I'm excited. I'm happy people are putting out these packs and stuff like that because a couple weeks later I'll put something out that looks even better. So I
Right.
I think that
Yeah,
it's a
no,
challenge.
I think you're dead on there. Well, it's like whatever that was I was talking about earlier that just how like kind of more affordable video production has become. It hasn't like dried up the well, it's just made the well bigger. And so I think the same goes with motion graphics. And I mean, I didn't even touch on the fact. I mean, I'm most of these, actually, I think all of these plugins that I buy are just 2D things. I mean, there's rarely any kind of like three-dimensional stuff. Which I mean, you're not going to find a whole lot of plugins that do that kind of stuff. I mean, that I've seen. But I usually just go out and find whatever it is I need,
Hmm.
and that's it. So um, I could be wrong about that, but
Yeah, I was.
well, those are things that tend to need to be. It's like a template, but it's still an After Effects template. So you still have to know how to work in After Effects, even if you're buying a $40-$50 template and opening it in After Effects. You still have to know how to use it. The templates I'm kind of talking about are more ones that are plugins for Final Cut. So those are like motion templates. So
With like less
but yeah.
editability and stuff like that.
Correct. Yeah, and then they just do really basic animations, and it's just kind of drag and drop type stuff.
Yeah,
So
that's definitely like I was gonna ask you a question about have you ever explored like some of the newer I know like as a professional that exploring software is not always like cost effective for you because you need to like use the software that's guarantee you to get your work done and stuff like that. But I have been kind of looking at DaVinci Resolve. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's like a newer video editing software. And
yeah, no, I have, and it's kind of funny, like you got to kind of like ask yourself, like, where do you see yourself living and working? Um, if you're going to do the Los Angeles thing, I guarantee you DaVinci Resolve is being used up there, and I think I've heard. or read some things, that's becoming like the platform of choice for a lot of people. So definitely those newer kind of higher end tools have their place. I don't know that you're going to find like a small production company in the Midwest using it necessarily. Is that a reason to not learn it? Absolutely not. I mean, I think learning different platforms can only sharpen your skill set
Of
and
course.
help you to make your content look even better.
Hmm.
So I don't know if that answered your question or not, but
Oh no, yeah, yeah. I mean, cause I sometimes I get asked by people that aren't really big into like editing and stuff like that, or they're trying to get into it, and they're like, they have a different specialty. And I always I recommend new stuff that I hear is really good, and I know that DaVinci Resolve is free right now, so I've been trying to get some more people onto a platform that because I Christian Rogers, and he's been talking about
mm-hmm.
it pretty often, and he's saying it's like he thinks it's going to be on the new cutting edge. So exploring, and I think that's another cool thing about our field is that we interface a lot with each other, and we find out what what new things we're exploring, what new things are going on, and I think that like learning that is a huge part of what we do too.
Right. Yeah, totally agree.
And
Totally agree.
you can walk us through what you're doing here if you want to explain a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I'm cleaning up a mess right now. What I had intended to do was pre-import all my media from yesterday's show, so that I could do a bit of a demonstration.
Hmm.
And then, as I kind of mentioned to you, I was having internet problems, so I had to force quit Final Cut so that I could restart my computer. And so I had a bunch of clips that were like partially imported. Um, that's why there was a bunch of stuff
Gotcha.
offline there for a second. Um, so I think I've got it all cleaned up for the most part. So this is the Stick and Hack show. It's a 3-camera shoot, and for the most part, our guests are remote, mainly because they're not local here to Indy. The guy we had on yesterday was Beardy McBeardsty
That's an
here,
awesome
Beardy
beard, man.
McBeardster.
I'm jealous of that
Yeah, I
guy's
know, right?
beard.
I know, right? He's based out of New York, so we just have him. We just have our guest call in via Zoom, and so our video switcher just takes a laptop input. So typically, what I do is we have a video switcher that records to a little H.264 encoder that can live stream if you want to. We don't stream the show live yet, but then it just records to a little SD card. And so this right here is the line cut of the show. So it's the program feed. This was don't listen too much to the audio. That's not a good audio. Can you hear all that?
Um,
Can you hear that?
I can't really hear anything on my end.
Let's see here. I'm sharing my screen. How do I share my audio? Can you do that? Here, you
I
know what? Let's do it this way. Hold on a second.
okay.
People out there and introduce themselves to this
Can you hear that?
Yep.
game because that's the only thing you could do for the last 4 months.
Took my earbuds out. So this is the program feed, which is the live camera switch that we did. So you can see all the different angles that we cut to. So we do the show that way. In the early days, I'd have some miscues or I'd cut to the wrong angle. And so then I would need to go back and kind of do some re-editing. Gotten pretty good with it now. So like yesterday's show was pretty much clean as is. We didn't have any like graphic miscues or anything like that. But in a case that we do, I actually ISO each camera. So we've got Adam's close up. So we're rolling on him the whole time. We're rolling on Mike the whole time. What I was trying to do was
I like the
we've
interface
got,
for this program. It looks really clean.
yeah, it's clean and really simple. And so these are just the clean ISO wide shots, which in this particular case, I'm not going to need to use because the program feed we didn't really have any flubs in it. So I just imported it so you could see what that looks like. Now we don't have a traditional like soundboard, like a Mackie mixer. We've got this little podcast maker, which essentially it's a soundboard, but it has a little micro SD card slot on it. So it, instead of recording to like an external device, can you see my mouse?
Yep.
Okay, I'm pointing to the board and I'm like realizing I don't even know if you can see me doing
No,
that.
yeah, we can see your mouse.
This board has a little micro SD slot. So the clean audio is getting recorded to that board, which is this audio file here. So all we should really have to do is I'm gonna right click on these clips, which highlights them in yellow. And then I'm going to do synchronize clips, and it'll basically use audio for synchronization. I don't even know what that is. So it's going to sync those two, and it's basically just going to take the natural sound that the program feed captured, which was that kind of tinny, not so good audio, and it's going to sync it with what we recorded in the podcast, or with the podcast maker. So now we've got this synced clip. So if I double click on it, you can see where Final Cut recognized the waveforms and it synced those together. Now, one issue that I don't want to bore you guys with too many technical details. One issue that we've had, and I've not been able to solve it, is I don't know if it's something with the frame rate of the video versus how we're recording the audio, but the audio drifts a little bit. So it can be in sync at the end of the show, but by about halfway through, it's slowly out of sync. So I have to go in and like make a few edits and kind of realign audio a little bit. Let me see if I can show you an example. Let's see, that's even out of sync a little bit. So there's the waveform. So yeah, it doesn't always do a fantastic job of.
Welcome in. Stick it out.
All right, so now it's in sync. This is the clean audio here.
Welcome in. That's Mike Ryan. Stick, Mike, how are you? Awesome, as always. Good. Glad to hear it. Most sophisticated golf show.
And then I'm gonna skip down here a little ways.
Well, and then you said it, Mike. There's this.
Yeah, so drifted out of sync a little bit there. I'll go back and clean that up a little bit later. I figured I'd show you how that works. And then basically, so I'll kind of compare this to how Premiere works. So where Premiere has a project and then a timeline, which is typically what's down here is your timeline. And then you've got bins full of media. It's set up somewhat similar in Final Cut X. Things are just named differently. So at the base level, you have something called a library, which is basically like a project. So it's kind of like your master kind of container for your sequence and all your clips and all that. But it's called a library. And then bins are called events, but it's essentially the same kind of thing.
Every
You
program has a
put clip.
different name for something.
Yeah, I know, right? Everything has to be unique. And then these are actually not called sequences; they're called projects. So that's where like things can get a little confusing. And this is not actually a project right now. This is just so basically it synced those two clips and made like kind of one clip out of them. So I clicked into that. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to create a new project. We're going to call it Stick and Hack. Let's see, I think we shot that at 60. I should put that 60. Okay, and then we're going to take the synced clip and drop it down in there. So
Of course you do. Is he a member of the Dave Matthews Band?
So this is pretty much the project. So I'll go in here and where everything like in Premiere is based on tracks, you've got this master, what the heck is this thing called? Storyline, sorry. This main track here is called the storyline, and Final Cut's like literally like building blocks. There's no audio track. There's no video 1, video 2. You literally just like stack things. The audio tracks do go underneath, but everything connects via, like here, I'm just gonna arbitrarily drop a clip in here. So that goes on top. But see how, do you see that little doodad right there? Can you see
Yeah,
that
the
little,
little dot
little
down
blue
there.
dot? That little blue dot. It's actually not a dot, it's a line. But what it does is it connects this top clip to this bottom one. And so Final Cut has what's called a magnetic timeline. And it's so you can move things around without jacking up your sequence. So like this clip is now physically attached to this. So if I move this bottom one, the top one moves with it. And so as you get like a, here, let me open up a different project. I'll give you a better idea of what a bigger project sequence looks like.
And then, so you do have a question from Miranda.
Yeah.
And she says, do you like audio editing, or do you just prefer to do video?
Good question. We'll answer that momentarily.
Man, I wish I was on Mac. I would actually like to use this over Premiere. I don't really like Premiere, to be honest.
Dude,
It's just clunky.
it is such an awesome program. I love it.
Encoder's terrible too.
Right.
Like Adobe Media Encoder, like you'd figure that would be like the best performing part of Adobe Suite.
All right. I tried to use that recently for something, and it like was not working for me. I'm trying to think of a project here that was a little more complex.
So for most of your work, are you not adding like any like color correction or anything, or do you have to also have to do that as well, like or?
Yeah, no, I do lots of color correcting. Again, like I have quick turn, I have to do quick turn work. So exporting it into another program for color correction is just not something I have time for. So I do all my color correcting here in Final Cut. Here, I was going to show you. So this is like what a more complex edit would look like. So your music's all down here. This is like this is all like that. Everything here in the storyline is all my interview clips. And then you can see like all my graphics just stack on top. We were going for like a comic book feel with this video. All the B-roll clips and everything literally just stack on top. So, you can like, you got certain things that are attached to each other, and it helps keep your project clean without accidentally moving stuff you don't want to move. But to answer Miranda's question about audio, to me, I mean, what is it? I mean, what is a video without sound? I mean, I know some people like to watch Instagram videos with just the text and no sound. That's not what I'm saying. That's kind of a different thing. But like, yeah, I mean, sound is part of the package.
Mm-hmm.
A good video is cut to music really well. Like I've got to really dig the music track that I picked, or the video's not gonna look good. I'm not gonna be excited about it. It's not gonna evoke emotion. So yeah, I mean, music is critical. I think you can get away with mediocre video. This video actually was shot during COVID. So
Mm-hmm.
these interviews were all done remotely. I mean, the B-roll's decent B-roll, but it's all stock. This is all stock video here.
Mm-hmm.
Added kind of a cartoony effect to it. But especially in this day and age, like people will forgive average looking video. They will not forgive crappy audio.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
your audio has to be good. Your mics need to be at the right level. The more you edit through the years, the more you can tell where people didn't clean up sound transitions, and people notice that stuff. I mean, people listening that are not even professionals listen for that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's something that and I do remember they taught us that at Ball State. That our professor that taught all the audio classes, he always seemed to have a chip on his shoulder because I think he thought most students coming into school, like, audio just was not important to them. And you learn very quickly that the audio portion is just as important as the video. And I mean, that goes for motion graphics projects too,
Of course.
stuff that incorporates video clips or stuff that's just even music based. Like you got to give sound its due respect, as well as lighting. I mean, you can use a mediocre camera, and if you've got pretty good lighting, you can make video look pretty good.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree with you on the music thing though, because I was actually redoing my reel, because it's off season, so I need to get my stuff together, ready to put out there. And I looked for a song for over a week, like the right song. So I 100% understand that, because
It's
it
funny.
just.
I always tell myself that I don't waste too much time picking music, and then I always catch myself like, oh my gosh, this is just something I'm trying to whip up really quick. That's not important, and I've literally just spent 40 minutes trying to find the right track. I mean, you can literally take the same sequence of clips, cut them to two different soundtracks, and you've got two completely different videos.
Oh yeah.
You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like
For sure.
pacing, energy. I mean, it evokes emotion. So like it's, music is everything.
Yeah, and for like, especially, I think that music is super important too, because your cuts, like I am new to video editing and exploring that, so like the whole idea of like cutting on beat drops and stuff like that is a new idea to me. So
Right.
learning that has already helped me in my editing a ton. So
Right.
so I think that your point of it sound being super important is 100% on point. I 100% agree with that.
Let me show you a cool trick I learned a couple years ago. All right, I'm just gonna create like a little sample here. This is one cool thing that Final Cut does, and it's not even really all that fancy. Um, but you can add markers on the fly, and so a lot of times what I'll do if it's a video that is going to be very reliant on cutting to beats, what I'll do is, because you can go in and like edit in a linear fashion and like just kind of drop a clip in and adjust it to the beat and then listen for the next beat and try to adjust your next clip. Or you can do this, which saves a ton of time, which is basically, oh, wait, hold on a second. Give my own secrets away here. Anyways, I was picking maybe a different beat than another listener might pick, but you just drop markers in on the beat. And so if you got to edit something really quick, now you've got these really quick, easy markers of where your clip should start and stop. So a lot of times if I'm doing something that's very reliant on music and not so much like sound bites and stuff, I'll just drop a music track in, go in, drop markers where, either on the beat or if there's it may not always be on the beat, but sometimes there's like a really, like a crescendo with like maybe some cymbals or something like that.
Sure.
Like put a marker there, and that's where you put like a really like emotional shot. But that was a little trick I learned a couple of years back, because otherwise I was just going in and like listening for the beat by ear while I was editing, and it just takes a lot of time to do it that way. This is kind of a little cheat that I learned.
When we're learning Premiere in Christian's class, he talks about this. He's like, this is how people edit video professionally, and like you seeing it, like you showing me and telling me that's how you do it is like crazy to me, because, well, not crazy, but like it's really nice to like see that some of the stuff that we're taught in school is like 100% on like accurate and like exactly how people do it in the industry, which is like very nice to hear.
Oh, that's cool. So that Christian mentioned that to you guys in class?
Yeah, so he actually shows us how to like put markers on Premiere tracks and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
So that's like a thing that he talks about. But he doesn't like you went in a little bit more into depth about it, but he like just touches on it, and well, Christian, how he kind of like approaches stuff. So
yeah. Well, because he's a video guy too, and kind of on the side, I think, but he understands how it all works. Not on the side, but I know he does like video production and does editing and stuff too outside just motion graphics. But
all of this is super awesome, and I hope everyone watching is like taking notes or whatever, because this is really good information we're getting here from an industry professional.
I had a question for Miranda, because we had a nice conversation a few weeks back. Is there anything else that I haven't mentioned? I felt like she and I had a really good kind of existential conversation about how to be a media person and live successfully. This conversation's getting more on the technical stuff. I'm curious if there's anything else, like from
she has plenty of questions, is what she said.
What'd she say?
She has plenty of questions.
Oh, I remember one of the things that came up. I remember she and I had talked about, again, that the landscape has really changed in the last 20 years. And I guess in a way you ultimately find what you're looking for. Um, I don't necessarily love being an independent contractor. Some people love the freedom of kind of working for themselves, and I
Mhm.
totally get that and respect that.
Yep.
With that comes unsteady paychecks, and you don't know when your next gig is going to come
Yeah.
along. And so I tend to be cut from the cloth of liking stability and liking routine and stuff. So there's both out there. But the point I was going to make was there's more independent contractor work out there, and that's where the bulk, I think, of the work lies. And so, you don't just graduate and suddenly you've got 10 clients. I mean, you've got to work to build up clientele
Mhm.
if that's the route you're going to take. Um, so one of the things I had mentioned to her was like, and this to me just comes back to just creating positive momentum in life. Like,
Mhm.
there's no shame in working at Starbucks, just trying to make cash so that you can, what I mean? You may start out you may start out not doing paid gigs at all. I mean, to be honest, I mean,
Yeah.
whether it's an internship or just trying to take on some projects to get some experience, like, I guess that'd be one thing I would encourage is like, don't just sit and wait for the work to come to you. Like it doesn't work like that.
Mhm.
You know, it, you may start out only doing motion graphics and video professionally a couple hours a week. Well, you still have to pay the bills and you still have to like contribute something to the world. So like, it's not a bad thing to have another job. You know,
Mhm.
it, worst case scenario, you start to get successful and you have to start making that decision of, okay, well, maybe I deliver pizzas less now because I've got enough work, and that's a good problem to have. But I even 20 years ago, I saw a lot of people, even in my kind of generation, like just kind of ho hum it after college, and they just fell out of production altogether, or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with just keep working, like do everything you can, but like don't just wait to get the perfect scenario, because that's going to take you a few years to get that, and it's taken me 20 years to get here.
Mhm.
So there's no shame in you know doing work that's not in your line of work
Mhm.
to and people will notice that. I'm telling you, like, if hey, what have you been up to the last 2 years? Oh, not much. I mean, that says a lot about a person. Um, well, I haven't been able to find much video work. Man, I've been busting my ass doing construction with my dad.
Mhm.
Man, that leaves a huge positive impression. So like, don't be afraid to roll up your sleeve and do non career work,
Mhm.
just to keep things moving. You'll get there. You'll get there eventually.
Yeah. I'm
There's no
actually.
formula there. That's another thing I mentioned. I remember saying to Miranda, like, there's no formula for success in this line of work. Like, I could have gotten into insurance or something, and it's like, okay, well, after 3 years, your your region will expand from this to this, and you will
Mhm.
get this kind of increase. And you know what I mean? Like, this line of work doesn't have like a pattern you follow.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
but you also get to do some really, really cool stuff that, you know, is maybe a little sexier than selling insurance. Again, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I'm actually
Um,
in that boat myself. I just started looking for like a job so I could pay my bills while everything's going on, and so I'm actually gonna be
right.
working at Amazon soon here at a warehouse.
Oh, cool.
So
Well, good for you, man. Because you know, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it will keep you energized. It will keep you feeling like you got a reason to get out of bed in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll be better off for it. So that's cool.
Yeah, I love
Another
working out.
question she had asked me was um, I don't remember exactly what the topic was, but it was like class projects versus like your own work.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess this would be for, obviously for like active students. Like, um, again, I can't remember the exact question, but like outside of like classwork on your portfolio, like is doing your own work um, important and something that people want to see? And my answer to that is a resounding abso-freaking-lutely. Like, I don't even know that most professionals want to see, I'm sorry, hiring professionals. I don't know that most hiring professionals really have an interest in seeing what you did for your classes. Maybe, but what people really want to see is like, because think about it, like that is something that's something you do for class is something you
Mm-hmm.
have to do.
Yeah.
You're probably working within some parameters that your professor gave you. So it's
Yep.
not really indicative of like your creative abilities. I mean, obviously, if you took what was meant to be this assignment and did some kick ass thing, yeah, that's, you can show that. But what people really want to see, what you do in your own time
Yep.
is the stuff that you're excited about and passionate about. And especially right out of school, I guarantee you that's the stuff that hiring people are going to want to see. Like, hey, what is it you do? Show me some of the stuff you're excited about. Show me some of the things you've done in your spare time. It doesn't matter if it's some little rinky-dink, goofy thing that you did. Like, if it's something that is a reflection of you and your abilities,
Yeah.
that's the stuff people want to see because that's ultimately that's what they're wanting you to bring to their company
Mm-hmm.
is that level of excitement. So yeah, I would say the stuff you do in your class is the bare minimum of what you should be doing. Like you
Uh-huh.
guys should be filling up your spare time with as much work as you possibly can. And when I say work, I mean if you can find paid stuff, great. But I'm like just keep working, keep improving your portfolio, like
Oh yeah.
just keep creating content and that's again I keep coming back to that momentum thing. Like people will see that and yeah.
Yeah, my actually my whole reel I was going through and I had two you have all your clips and stuff like that. I actually changed my reel. It was 2 minutes long. And I don't know if you know
Mm,
Ben, I think it's Ben Marat or Ben Marot. He's like a really good graphics designer and motion
yeah,
graphics guy. He's huge. He's really well
yeah.
known. Um,
Okay, cool.
and I watched some of his videos, and he's talking about cutting down your motion graphics reel to 45 seconds, which is like 45 seconds for a reel is like what? Like you're as an
I know,
animator, like
right?
that's nothing. So it was
Right.
but it was a really good challenge, and I really learned a lot in editing and just myself. I was like, okay, I have 45 seconds to show my best work, like to put my best stuff out there. So like I
Right.
honestly cut out like 10, 15 animations, like small animations that were just not worth anything in a reel.
It's
And
hard. It's hard because you have to be super objective about it. And those 10 to 15 you cut out could still be really, really amazing things, but you've only got their attention for so long. Um, yeah, that's hard. It's hard to like, what pieces do you let hit the cutting room floor? But unfortunately, you have to. I think it's also important to, I guess this kind of goes back to the website thing. You want to have like that really solid reel,
mhm.
um, but you also want to have the ability to like direct somebody to like, hey, for the full version of me, go to my website and have all your work and it's all your pieces of work in their full
Yeah.
format, easy to easy to view because
Mhm.
most likely they're gonna want to see more about you, and
Of
if you can
course.
give them a very easy place to go to, like ideally you'd have a website with your work on it, with like a digital resume on there. Like I've just got a really simple website that I had a friend build for me, all my video work, and it's way outdated because I've not had time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a link to my YouTube channel. It's nothing fancy, but it's way better than like, oh, well, here I'll send you these like 6 different links, and or here I'll send you a Dropbox with a bunch of crap to download. Like, people don't have time for that.
Oh
Like, they
yeah.
want something really easy to click on and see. And
Yeah, because like at the end of the day,
so,
someone hiring you might have to look through like 100 applicants stuff. So like that's definitely that's something that I've been trying to strive for. And I know that Miranda has I don't know if you've seen her newest website. She just posted it recently.
no,
And it's got her resume, it's got her work, it's got her process, it's got like some of her current projects she's got going on. It's just awesome, and I like am looking at her website and kind of like trying to make mine better by like just
nice.
looking at other websites. So I definitely think that's like
Right,
a good point to raise to any new artist or anyone trying to expand their work is using
right,
like creating that like one-stop shop for somebody.
right. I'm a little out of touch with what the standard is these days for a resume, like an actual like paper resume.
Hmm.
I mean, that's a whole other conversation. And some places may not even ask you for it. It depends on like how you're getting an in with whatever the company is you're going after. If it's somebody
Yes.
that you've connected with, if it's somebody that you've connected with and you've already built a relationship, like they may not even ask for a resume. Um, oftentimes they oftentimes you've got the job already from however far into the process you had to go, but they still require like a printed resume to go to their HR department.
Uh-huh.
So like I still think you have to have just always be prepared to have a formal typed resume, because you may have impressed them with the website and your actual work, but they may still need a paper copy to put on file somewhere. So,
Yeah, yeah, of course. And Miranda actually has a couple questions she wrote down here that I can read off to here, so she got a couple of down. Um,
yeah.
so she says, I think students would love to hear where you see yourself in 20 years, and to follow with that question, are you still growing as an artist?
Yeah, I think so. I think the answer is yes. Um, Depends what you mean by artist. Um, a big part of being able to have longevity in this industry is your ability to um, understand business, understand not understand budgets, and understand the importance of revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can't have your head in the clouds all the time and just be creative all the time, because companies still need to generate revenue. They still have a bottom line. Um,
Yep.
it takes a little bit of time to like find an appreciation for that, or to gain wisdom in that, because you can't really, I mean, unless you have a business degree, some of that stuff you just learn from exposure. I would say I'm in a season right now because AGM and Stick and Hack are, I mean, we're small businesses. And
Yep.
so, and Adam being a businessman, he is teaching me a lot about numbers and and I've worked for a lot of really great creative companies that kind of didn't grow that much, just because they weren't like, there was a lot of creatives, but it wasn't there were no revenue goals and things like that. And so,
Mm-hmm.
great places to work. But like Adam has a lot of like really strong revenue goals that we're going after. And so I'm learning a lot about the business side of things, which I think, am I growing as a creative in that standpoint? No, but it's helping me be more valuable to the company. And so it's going to keep me around longer so that I can continue to grow creatively. So those are things, don't be afraid to like read leadership books and business books, because those are all foundational things that need to be in place.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, I think creatively we're, assuming this stick and hack thing keeps going the way that it's going, um, which is upwards and positive,
Mhm.
we've got plans. I mean, I can't say that we've got 20-year plans. I mean, the 20-year plan is to be rich and sitting on a beach somewhere. And that's what Adam wants
Sounds
for stick
good.
and hack. But at least in the short term, our plan is to, most of our content has been short format, 2 to 7 minute videos. Like we're wanting to get into episodic type stuff, long format documentaries.
Mhm.
And I don't know that I've ever in my career produced a video that's been more than 12 minutes. So like full feature type stuff. Um, I think that's in my future. Um, I really do think the website stuff is. There's too many times where I'm dumb with that stuff. Like I'm just like, uh, like I would love to be able to go in and I mean, Adam was in some horrific car accident. He was all burning in flames, and he's
Mhm.
like, "We need to update some text on the website." Like, I'd love to be like, "Hey, I can go do that." Right now, I'm like, "Can you log in while your arm's still attached?" Sorry, that got really weird. Um,
Yeah, it's a.
so yeah, I think that's in my future. I don't know. Um,
Do you think that like for those longer, more extended projects that I know that for anything that's like longer, pre-production is huge. And do you think that that's something that you have a strong skill set in, or do you think that's something you're going to need to grow for like these bigger projects that you guys are maybe looking towards?
that's a great question. I mentioned that most of the work I did in California was non-technical. So it was very heavy on the planning, pre-production, supervising crews and supervising editors. Um, the last 10 years here has been a lot more of me doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mentioned earlier in the conversation, I mentioned the short sidestep that I had done. Um, I had left a creative job a couple years ago, and I just needed a minute to catch my breath. And
Mm-hmm.
I kind of was like, it's like, hey, if that was my midlife crisis, I'm good to go. Like nothing major. But I did a little sidestep, and I became a project manager for a technology um, firm here in Indy, and it helped me to like dust off more of the like administration management side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, good people, good company. Just wasn't like it was no creative at all.
Yeah.
Um, and so my creative tank went empty really fast. So I did that for about a year and a half. And it was actually, I started doing some freelance work with Adam. Um, and then that just took off and he said, why don't you just come work for me full time? But yeah, to answer your question, like that is one of the things I'm pretty decent at is I'm very detailed
Mm-hmm.
and um, I actually probably do a fault. I tend to try to tie up loose ends a little too quickly sometimes when maybe things just need to kind of flow a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
an idea just needs to be able to develop. Like Adam's always like, Adam always jokes like he'll be telling me something and I'm already like halfway executing the task while he's telling me. He's like, he'll be like, just put the pen down, like just hear the whole idea before you start executing because you don't have the full context of what I'm trying to tell you. So I
Mm-hmm.
have to like let things breathe a little bit sometimes. But yeah, I mean, for this thing to grow, I can't be the only, I can't be the only editor. I can't be, everything can't pass through me.
Mm-hmm.
And right now it kind of is. And so like I'm already kind of in the process of trying to like um, raise up some junior editors. And um, as this thing grows on a national scale,
Yeah.
um, we're gonna have to be sending crews to different cities and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I'm probably gonna have to take on less creative and more kind of managing stuff.
Uh-huh.
So, and Adam and I have had those conversations, like, how much creative do I want to let go of? And I know that it's in my best interest and the company's best interest to not hoard all that, because I'll stifle. I mean, there's only so much I can do as one person. So,
Of course. Yeah, I imagine with like especially with video, like planning is so crucial because you have to get like permission to film somewhere, you have to get the right equipment. So I as an animator, pre-production is important, but a lot of stuff changes as you animate, and depending on if your rig's working or whatever, a lot of stuff
right,
changes. So but like
right,
I feel like film and editing and stuff is a little less forgiving because what you have is what you have unless you can go and
exactly.
afford to go refilm. So I think that that's like awesome to hear that you're like I'm on point and everything like that. Like that's something that I think I should strive for as like a new person coming out into the industry, of course. So.
Yeah, and I think, and I can't claim to know, like, foundationally what it is that they kind of preach to you guys. Um, but I do think, like, if whoever's listening hasn't placed value on understanding video production, I would say change your mindset a bit, because
Hmm.
um, even though motion graphics has its place, just like I need to have a better understanding of website design and whatnot, like, you really have to understand the basics of video, because if you can be a really talented motion graphics designer, but you also know your way, you don't have to be an expert, um, but know your way around how to shoot video and get good sound. And um, that's going to just make you, like, don't just be the guy who, just does motion graphics.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities. Yeah, if you can at least know your way around the other areas,
Of course. So I actually,
that's going to.
this reminds me of a conversation. You know Dan Baldwin, I imagine, because
Mm-hmm.
you're on the board. And Dan was talking about he's working on his own personal project. You probably heard about it at some point from him. Um,
I think so. I can't remember.
he's working on his own kind of personal like short film, and he was talking about he's looking for color, like a good color scheme or something like that. And he lives in Martinsville, Indiana, and he was driving and he saw this like sunrise and he loved it, so he literally pulled over the side of the road and took pictures. And he's like knows how to some side of photography, so he was taking these like pictures to get these the colors and everything. And it's always inspiring me to hear from people in the industry and who are actively working on their own projects about the different sides of things they know how to do, because I think that no one wants a pocket knife with 2 attachments. Someone wants a pocket knife with 80 attachments or 30 attachments, like something they can use for anything. And I know that like you work in a team and you need to know like your specialty, but at the same time you're going to be going to different departments and stuff like that. And I think that saying that is huge, because that's like something that you can't
Right.
get grounded into your head enough that you need to know more than just one thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, going back to what I was saying about the business side, you know, um, if I like as I and this was actually a real conversation. I'm walking a fine line right now of, okay, so I need to grow this thing bigger than me. So to do that, we need to contract people, which means paying people. But we're also trying to make more money as a company, which means having less money going out. So you obviously can't have both.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a line you walk of, okay, what things, because I mean, I could just outsource everything right now and be like, all right, you told me to delegate, I did. Well, and then, like, no money goes into our pockets because we just paid all of our contractors. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
there's got to be like some smarts with decision making on what things are worth outsourcing, what things do we maybe keep in house, so that so that we're growing, but that we're also making money. And again, there's like
Yes.
no perfect formula for that. But hey, I was gonna let you know I probably got about 10 more minutes. I got to get my kids
Oh
bed
yeah,
here
yeah.
momentarily. Do you have is there any more questions coming in or?
Yeah, so we do have two more questions. This one they're all from Miranda. She's been doing some questions in here. Um, so she wanted to see, how do you keep yourself inspired, and what do you use slash watch view to stay inspired?
Well, I because I'm in front of because I'm in front of a screen a lot. Hold on a second. My dog's gonna start
Oh, you're
barking.
good. Yep.
Um, because I'm in front of a screen a lot, like I have to like shut that down. So I read a lot. It's funny because like my 20s and 30s, I hated reading. Uh, my late something switched in my late 30s that like that's the thing that like refreshes me and energizes me. I don't know if it just if it's thinking with a different part of my brain. I don't know what it is, but like I find that reading refreshes me, uh, and music has always been my medicine. I
Mhm.
mean, that's going back to when I was a kid. Like, music has like literally a physical effect on me. So I listen to a lot of different types of music, um, and I do believe that those are like different art can affect how you express things. And so,
Mhm. Yeah.
I've got days where I'm rocking out, and you could probably look at my edits, and my edits are probably a lot crazier than they would be if I had some like classical music playing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of I listen to a lot of music. Yeah, man, for me, it's like just it's like I said, I'm not I don't shut my laptop lid and then like, ugh, I'm gonna geek out all night long. Like I just not for me, the things that fill me up are non-media related things
Uh
like
huh.
hanging out with my kids and my wife or friends, or sitting around the fire having a beer with whoever. Like the non-work related things are what
Mhm.
kind of refresh me. um, I it's funny, like I make a mental note to myself all the time to like set time aside and look at what other video people are doing just so I can get inspired. And I never want to do that because I'm just like I do this all the time. Like I don't
Mhm.
that feel I know I probably should do it, but it doesn't feel like that's something that's gonna fill me up. It's gonna like get my mind going, and usually in those moments I'm trying to relax. And two, I've always struggled with watching other people's work and then getting critical of myself, being like, man,
Of course.
why how come I can't do that? And that's I think all creatives probably struggle with that. But
Of course. Yes. I
I need
100%
to,
agree.
well, and one of the things, and I just had this thought this week, I, I, I probably need to like listen to some of my own advice here, but like I definitely can get into like a rhythm and I'm just cranking out work for clients. And
Mhm.
what I have to be careful of sometimes is like I'm concerned sometimes that I could go back and I could look at the 4 different videos I was doing in one week for 4 different clients, and they're gonna look like the same thing. Um, I sometimes I get into a rhythm and I kind of use the same tricks over and over again, and I
Yeah.
don't try new things. And I want to be careful that I'm not just redoing the same videos over
Mhm.
and over again visually. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
and when you're just under a deadline, you've got 20 things due, and it's easy sometimes to just default to old creative habits instead of trying something new. So
Mhm.
that's something I've been trying to be a little bit more aware of. I don't know if I'm excelling with it or not, but
Yeah, I 100% understand that. I know that like if I discover a cool, way to do something in After Effects or like a cool effect, I find myself using it often. Like one of the things I learned how to use was the light reflect, and I love that. But I looked at some videos, and
Right.
there was a period of like 2 weeks where I had light reflect on everything I made, and I was just like, oh man, like anyone
Telling you,
that.
man. I know it's hard.
So
It's
I.
hard. And how do you what? And there's no why. You know what? And who knows? Maybe it looked amazing in every one of those videos. And if no two people see all those videos, they're not going to know. But that you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
that you kind of. So I don't know. It's hard. Like I just sometimes we're our own worst enemies, and
Yeah, it's
you
an
know.
ever growing struggle with creatives. I think of like always pushing
Yeah.
ourselves to be better and being the toughest critics on ourselves. So I think
Yep.
that's the struggle we all have to kind of deal with. But I'm super
Yeah.
happy we got to chat and have this interview. And I
Yeah.
am thank you so much for your time. I know you gotta go. I really appreciate you hanging out with us, and hopefully sometime we can talk again soon and talk about
Yeah.
new stuff.
Be more than happy to do this again. It's fun.
So I'm gonna let you go here.
Cool.
If you have anything else you wanted to
All
say to
right.
the stream, they can hear you. So if like a closing
Yeah.
remark.
Just good luck to everybody. I know it's been probably a weird year for everybody. Just hang in there. You know, it's it's a weird time to be for those of you who are just now getting out of school. Jay, I know that you're one of those. Like,
Hmm.
just hang in there and just remember there's no formula for this. So just there's no formula, but I do believe that the old adage of hard work pays off. That is true. I mean,
Hmm.
that is a true statement. You know, it may not pay off right away, but it will pay off. So just work hard and have fun. And you know what? If this line of work ends up just being stressful and you don't enjoy it, there's other things you can do out there. We only live on this life or live on this planet once. I feel like we
Hmm.
should, for the most part, enjoy the things that we do. So
Of course, of course. Again, thank you.
good luck, class of 2020. I just feel like I just gave a commencement speech.
Well, we could save that for next year, later this year, I guess. But
All
again,
right, exactly.
thank you so much. I'm gonna let you go here,
Pleasure.
and have a
Okay,
great day and stay safe.
awesome. All right, you too. Thanks,
All right,
guys.
bye
Appreciate the
bye.
time. Bye.
All right, thank you so much for everybody that showed up today. We had a great time. I really enjoyed this conversation, and stay tuned for our next guest. I know that Miranda has the new guest lined up, so we will have that in social shortly. And again, it was a pleasure. Everybody have a great day, and I'll see you guys.